So we're starting today the Vavam Lav, Pesachim the Vavam Lav on the top. We're speaking about someone who gets chametz from a goy deposits chametz in his property. So we're starting by a question on the bottom of the famous base. The Gemara says like this: Ikad Amri. It's the last line of the famous base. The Gemara says Ikad Amri. Some people ask the question like this. The question we started off yesterday. Yes, they put on an argument whether something which has initial value, and right now it doesn't. Right now it's not mine, but if it gets lost, I'll be responsible to pay for it. So the question is, does it count? Is that counted as mine or not? So there's an argument. Yeah, it's something that causes me a loss of money. Is it counted as money or not? So the Gemara says, if you say that money, that's something which causes a cost of money, is not counted as money. So that's why I have the extra word in the pasuk of leimatze. Why? Because the word leimatze teaches us that even if you have chametz which doesn't belong to you 100%, because even if you're responsible to pay for it, at the end of the day, money, responsibility to pay doesn't mean it's yours. That's why you have extra word leimatze to teach us that any chametz, even chametz which is not 100% yours, is also us. But if you're going to tell me that item which I'm responsible to pay for example, our case, that someone deposits chametz in your shus, and if it gets lost, you're responsible to pay for it. If you're going to tell me that that's counted as mine 100%, then why do I have an extra word in pasuk to teach us that chametz should be found? We said the word leimatze teaches us that even chametz which isn't yours, the word leimatze teaches us that chametz should be found. So if something which is not a chametz which isn't 100% mine, because it's not, I don't own it, but I'm gonna have to pay if it gets lost. But if I say it's still counted as mine, because halachically, if your responsibility for something means you have some sort of ownership on it, so that's already included in leimatze. I mean, that's yours already. Why do I use the extra? What does the extra words of leimatze teach us? Again, according to if you tell me that responsibility isn't counted as money, so I need the word leimatze to teach us that even something which you're responsible for, which halachically isn't yours, but still you can't have any else. But if I tell me that responsibility is counted as ownership, and therefore it's yours, so why do you have that? So I don't need the extra word to tell us that I can't take deposits from anyone else. That's chat leimatze. You cannot have your chametz to yourself. So it's my answer is I still need, even if you tell me that responsibility or cause of money is counted as ownership, I still need the extra words in leimatze. Because why? Because I would think, as long as the chametz is here, meaning it wasn't stolen or wasn't lost, as soon as the person, the depositor, wants his item back, I give this same item back. He deposited a loaf of bread, I give this loaf of bread back. So therefore, as long as it's not lost and not stolen, even if it gets lost or stolen, I'm going to have to pay for it. As long as it didn't get lost or stolen, at the end of the day, it still doesn't belong to me. So why should we marry Rishus Pesach? If it gets lost or stolen, then we can argue. Since I'm chayav to pay for it, did the item belong to me or not? Or did I belong to me or not? But now that I didn't get lost or stolen, it's still here. So why should we marry Rishus? So what if I'm going to have to pay for it? At the end of the day, now I'm not responsible to pay for it. So I would think maybe I'm able to have this type of chametz because right now it's for sure not mine. Kamash Malan is what the extra words in pasuk the leimatze means, and not only chametz which is yours, you can't have in your ishus, but even chametz which you took responsibility for, and right now there's no reason for it to be counted as yours because you didn't pay for it yet. But since you took responsibility for it, you're chayiv. You're chayiv chametz on Pesach. So now that we started speaking about this concept of responsibility, is it counted as ownership or not, we're going to bring out different halachas that we see this concept expresses itself in. They asked a question from Rabbi. Behemas anuna. Behemas anuna is, in those days, the king would have a certain, there would be a law that the king would have a specific animal that the king would take tax from, meaning the kids of the animal would belong to the king, and the shearings would belong to the king. So instead of taking the king will also take tax from money. But there was also a animal tax. The question is that is the firstborns of this animal the firstborns of this animal does it go is a chayv b'cher or not? Because we know that Rashi brings down that b'cher is only for a yid. Only a yid is chayv b'cher. If you go on the animal, it's not chayv b'cher. So the question is, since the king, which is a guy, owns this animal, do we say that it's chayv b'cher or not? So let's see. They asked the question from Rabbi. If you have a behemoth that belongs to the king, meaning the king is it's a tax animal, is it chayav b'cher? Is it chayav b'cher? Or do we say in chayav b'cher? What are the sides of the question? So the Gemara says, if the law is that the king gives you an option, either you pay from the animal or you pay cash, you have an option to pay cash instead of giving the actual animal. So then, for sure, for sure, you're chayav. Why? Because since there's an option to pay cash, so therefore this actual animal doesn't belong to the king because I have an option to be potter from the tax with cash. So the animal belongs to me. And the king has rights to this animal, but the rights can be exchanged for cash. So therefore, it's for sure chayav because the physical animal technically right now belongs to me. When is the question? If the law is that you can't pay cash, you have to give the actual physical animal, meaning you have to give the actual kids of the animal, the kids of the animal to the king. What's the din? So Rabbi answered, if you have to give the actual physical animal, it's potter. Why should it be chayav? The actual animal belongs to the king. So since the animal belongs to the king, why would we be chayav? Says, so we asked the Rabbi about time, we have a clear brayso that says chayav that you're chayiv. So the Rabbi just said that you're potter. We have a brayso that goes against you and says you're chayiv. So Rabbi answered, the matzi masalek is very simple. The brayso says you're chayiv. It's speaking about a place that the law is that you're able to redeem your tax with money, and therefore, since you're able to redeem tax money, that physical animal belongs to you. And once the physical animal belongs to you, you are chayiv in b'cher. That's one way of learning that piece of Gemara. Ikadamni, some people say the question, the Rabbi, instead of Rabbi answering, as possible, Rabbi answered like this. Amar Rabbi said like this: Behemoth Anuna, Torah min b'cher. Rabbi came to the shul in Masechta day, and he said that the behemoth of tax is parted from b'cher. The matzi masalek. Even if you're able to pay to redeem the tax with money, but it's still chayav b'cher, which is the complete extreme opposite of what we just said. We just said the first piece of Gemara. Rabbi said that it depends. When is it? If you're able to redeem it with money, for sure the behemoth is chayav b'cher. Why is sure the behemoth chayav b'cher? Because it's your behemoth. But if you're not able to redeem it with money, so the behemoth belongs to the king, and since it belongs to the king, it's part. According to this gerus in the Gemara, the Rabbi said no, a behemoth of tax is always part. Even if you're able to redeem it with money, meaning you're able to pay up your debt with money, as long as you didn't pay with money yet, the behemoth still belongs to you. So if you're going to pay with money, you're going to redeem your tax obligation with money, so then your tax will be parted. But as long as you don't pay the money, so right now this animal is yours, the animal belongs to the king. Even if you have an option to pay with money, if you didn't do it, if you didn't at the end of the day pay with money, since it right now belongs to the king, so it's parted from b'cher because the animal belongs to the king. I don't care if I have an option. That which have an option to pay up with money, it doesn't make a difference. It's an option, but as long as I don't choose the option. So this animal belongs to the king. So that's regarding an animal, a tax animal. But regarding Isa Sanuna, if you have the same idea regarding dough, right? In those days, the same thing, the same way you have to pay animal tax, you have to pay food tax. So if you have a piece of dough that belongs to tax, is a chayiv v'chal or not? So Rabbi says chayav v'chal. Dough, even if it belongs to a guy, is chayav v'chal. Even if in the case that you're not able to redeem it with money, meaning this dough 100% for sure belongs to the king, because there's no other way to get yourself out of this tax besides giving this actual physical dough to the king, it's still chayav v'chal. my time. Why should the dough be chayiv and challah if the dough belongs to the king and the king is a guy? So Rabbi said like this: Behema is like color. Animal has a curl. Animal, everyone knows that this animal belongs to the king. This animal, the king has a part, and therefore, if we say that it's parted from bechor, everyone's going to understand that the reason why you're not doing bechor from this animal is because it belongs to the king. But when it comes to dough, Isa unless they call it. When it comes to dough, no one knows that the king has a part in this dough. So when someone's going to see you make challah without making a dough, without taking challah, he's not going to know the reason why you're not taking challah is because of the king has a part inside his dough. He's going to think you're not taking challah is because you don't know if it's challah, and you're going against halachas. And they're going to be cheshish you that you're doing averis. And they want people to be cheshish other people for not the right thing. So therefore, Rabbanan said that even though technically you're pater from challah because it belongs to a guy, but still you should still take challah because people shouldn't be cheshish you to for eating challah for eating dough without taking challah. So that's one sugya which we're speaking about obligation. If I have a responsibility over something, or someone has a share inside a specific object, if that's counted as ownership or not. Now we're going with a completely different sugya. We're speaking about now if a guy comes inside your house with chametz on Pesach, what do you do? We learn the price like this: a guy that comes into the courtyard of the property of a yid, on Pesach, obviously, and he has a piece of dough or piece of chametz inside his hand. So the din is, we learn the brayta ain zakik levai. You're not zakik. You're not required to try to get the chametz out of the guy's hand, or even kick the guy out your field. You can just leave the guy there. Why? Because we learned before. So your chametz is awesome, but someone else's chametz is mutter. So that which the guy you have to have a delivery man walks inside your house with a piece of chametz. According to this brayta, you do not have to ask him to leave. When it comes to if the guy deposited it by you, so now he deposits by you. You have a chiyuv to get rid of the chametz from your house. If the yid gave a specific house, a specific storage place for the guy's chametz, so then you do not have to get rid of the chametz. So we have three cases. So the first case is a guy walks into your house. You didn't ask him to walk into your house. He didn't ask you to keep the chametz. He just has chametz inside your house. You do not have to kick out the guy or the chametz. Second case was if he deposited the chametz by you, so now it becomes your responsibility, like we said before, and therefore you're chayiv to get rid of the chametz. Third case is he deposited chametz by you, but you didn't put it in any place. You gave a specific corner that would now be his for the chametz purposes. So the din is that. The third case, you do not have to get rid of the chametz because it says lo yimatze. Says the Gemara in my comment. What does the word lo yimatze have anything to do with telling me that you put it for the chametz? So the fact that it says lo yimatze is going back on the first case. I mean, you read the brayta like this. The brayta says if that's the brayta is like if the guy deposited chametz by you, you have to get rid of it. Why? So the word lo yimatze is a proof to tell us why if chametz is deposited inside your house, you have to get rid of it. That's one way, even though it's not the pashut pshat of brayta. So because we learned shenamar, the proof of leimatze is going with the third case of if you gave him a specific house, you're patur. But the Papa is saying it doesn't make any sense. Leimatze is a reason to say you're chayiv. No, that's reason to say you're patur. So it must be leimatze is going in the second case. The reason why you're chayiv, even though it's not your chametz, I say it's chametz inside your house, which you have responsibility for. You have to get rid of it. Rashi argues and says no. Leilam aseifa koin. When the price of both the proof of leimatze, it's not telling you a reason leimatze you're chayiv to get rid of it. Leimatze is a ptur. It's telling you you're patur. How does that make sense? This is how you read the price. The price is saying if someone specifies a corner of the house for a guy to put his chametz in, he doesn't have to get rid of the chametz. Why? Shenamar says impossibly chametz should not be found inside your house. And in this case, lavdi deu. This part of his house isn't his. The nachri kamayil because they gave it over to the guy. The base of the nafshe kamayil. The guy since he gave a part of his house over to the guy, so when the guy has chametz inside his part of the house, it's as if the guy is renting this part of the house, or this part of the house is given over to the guy. And now it's as if the guy has chametz inside the guy's house, because this part of the house belongs to the guy. Says the Gemara and the Memra, the Schidus Kanya, you're going to tell me that if someone rents something, it's counted as it's his? But nah. Yeah, because in our case, what are we saying? We're saying that since he designated a part of the house to the guy, it's as if the guy rented that part of the house. And there's no problem of a guy having chametz inside his own house. But that comes with a presumption that when someone rents something, it's as if he is a full owner of that part of the house. So you're telling me that renting something is counted as a full owner? But now we learned in the Mishnah in Masechta Avodah Zarah. It says, there's different dinim about renting a house to a guy. Because the din is that if you rent a house to a guy and the guy is going to bring idols into the house, so the din is you can't rent that house to the guy. Why? Because the Mishnah says, even in a place it's mutter to rent a house to a guy, Chachamim never let you rent a house, a dwelling house to a guy. You can rent a storage space to a guy, or a business space to a guy. When it comes to renting a house, it's us. Why? Because they bring idols into the house. And if you're going to tell me when someone rents something, he has full ownership over it. What's the problem with a guy bringing idols into your rented house? When the guy brings chametz, when the guy brings idols into the house, the basis is nafshei. Since he rented the house and presuming that renting is a full ownership, so he's not bringing idols into the yid's house. The yid's house, it doesn't belong to the yid anymore. Since you rented it to the guy, it's the guy's house. So how does these two scenarios fit with each other? How does the scenario of renting your house to a guy, and that now the guy is allowed to bring chametz in there, and it's not counted as yours? How does it fit with the case that if you rent a house to a guy, the guy isn't allowed to bring idols in there because the house still belongs to you? In other words, what is the halachic status of renting? Is renting still have a connection to the renter? Or do we say when someone rents something, he has full ownership over it? So it says when it comes to dinim of Avodah Zarah, so renting is not counted as a full owner, and therefore if a guy rents a house from a yid, the house still belongs to the yid, and the guy will not able to bring idols in there. But when it comes to chametz, the Torah says the afkid achman b'lashon lo yimatze. Torah said, the Torah didn't say you shouldn't have chametz. The Torah said you shouldn't find chametz, which is mashma mi shematzoi b'yadfa. It says chametz shouldn't be found. Found means it shouldn't be accessible. So even if it's inside your house, since you rented this part of the house to the guy, so this chametz regarding you now is not accessible. So it could be that chametz, the house doesn't 100% belong to the guy halachically. By the end of the day, this house isn't accessible. This part of the house for you isn't accessible because you know that you rented it to the guy. So therefore, regarding Avodah Zarah, so it's stolen your house, and you can't bring idols in your house. Regarding chametz, the problem isn't that chametz shouldn't be inside your house. The problem is chametz shouldn't be accessible. So over here, chametz isn't accessible. So therefore, you're able to give over the house to a part of your house to a guy, and a guy would store his chametz there even on Pesach. We have to see how this fits with what we learned yesterday. It says that you can't even have chametz even in any of your domain, not only if it's accessible or not. Well, we're going to see soon how that fits in. Amar, the Gemara goes further within him of if you find chametz on Pesach, what are you supposed to do? Amar of Yehuda Marav, Yehuda said the name of Rav. Hameitz chametz be'beisei b'yom, to someone who finds chametz on inside his house on Yom Tif. Yeah, and we know Yom Tif is the din of muksa, so you cannot take out the chametz. The chametz is muksa, so you cannot take out the chametz, and you can't burn it because we learned yesterday that you can't burn chametz on Pesach. You can't move the chametz because it's muksa. So what are you supposed to do? So you should take a vessel and cover the chametz. Why? Because once you cover the chametz, it's going to be a sign that number one, you shouldn't take the chametz, and number two, that as soon as matzah Pesach comes, matzah Yom Tov comes, meaning Chalamayit, you should take the chametz and burn it. Amar Rava said, Im hektashu, if the chametz belongs to hekdesh, meaning it's not mundane chametz, it's holy chametz, so it's mukdash in mizbeach, mukdash to beis hamikdash, ein tzarich. You do not have to cover the chametz. You can just leave it there, hanging around in your dining room on Pesach. Obviously, we're speaking about that it doesn't belong to you because it belongs to hekdesh. So therefore, you're not able. My time, or why regarding mundane chametz, you have to cover it when it comes to hekdesh, you don't have to cover it. So he told him because mivdal dilimine. When it comes to hekdesh, everyone knows it's hekdesh, so people are scared from it. No one's going to come to eat hekdesh bread because everyone knows that it's hekdesh, and therefore, people stay away even without cover. Another thing we say in the name of Yehuda Marav, the name of Rav, you have chametz that belongs to a goy, that was deposited inside your house. You didn't take any responsibility for it, so therefore you're not chayiv. But it's still there's chametz hanging around your house. So what are you supposed to do? You have to make a wall 10 tefachim around this chametz, so you shouldn't forget and by mistake eat it. Right? So we're speaking about a case you're not chayiv if a guy deposits chametz inside your house and you take responsibility for it. So then you'll be chayiv because now we just had a whole Amud Gemara that says that it's yours. But we're speaking in a case that you didn't take responsibility for it. Since you didn't take responsibility for it, so therefore it's mutter to keep it inside your house. On the other hand, it's still a stumbling block that you might come to eat it. So you have to make a wall 10 tefachim around the chametz, so you shouldn't come to eat the chametz. Aber v'im shal hekdesh. If the chametz belongs to hekdesh, ein tzarich. You do not have to make a wall around. My timer, what's the reason? Because mivdal dili in yishminei, people are around the year. People are anyway scared of hekdesh and they keep away from hekdesh. So no one's going to come. Everyone's used to keeping away from hekdesh. No one's going to come to eat this chametz inside the house. So we see another din in the name of Yehuda Marav that how to deal with chametz inside your house on Pesach. Now that we're speaking about Yehuda Marav, we're saying another din of Yehuda Marav. This is regarding someone who left his house before Pesach. This is a very common din. People going away on their Pesach, and they ask the Rabbi what to do. Do they have to check the house? You don't have to check the house. This is the marker for the din. If Yehuda Marav said like this, I'm a farish vayetze b'shayara, someone who goes in the sea, and he goes on a sea trip, or he goes on a caravan trip, and he goes on a very far trip. He goes more than 30 days before Pesach. I mean, he goes Erev Purim, for example. He does not have to get rid of the chametz inside his house. But if it's if it's a day, let's say he leaves Shushan Purim, it's less than 30 days before Pesach. He has to check his house for chametz. Rabbi is asked like this: on the last piece of the last piece of this din, that we said that if it's within 30 days, he has to check his house. When is this din? Obviously, the din is only talking about that he's going to come back to his house on Pesach, and that's where he has to check his house. If he's going to leave his house also for Pesach, what's the point of him checking his house? He's not going to be home for Pesach. He doesn't have to check. So that's why Abaya's understanding in Rabbi Yehuda's din says, Rava asks Abaya, if we're talking about that he has to come in, he's going to come back home for Pesach. If he's going to come home for Pesach, forget about within 30 days he has to check his house. Even if it leaves on Rosh Hashanah, he leaves half a year before Pesach, he's still going to have to check his house because he's going to come home during Pesach and he's going to find chametz. So what's the chiddush? Obviously he has to check his house. There's no difference between before 30 days or after within 30 days. So Rava said like this. That would if Yehuda said the name of Rab, that before 30 days, he doesn't have to check his house. It can't be that he's going to come back during Pesach, because if he's going to come back during Pesach, it's going to be asur. It's only talking about a case that he's not going to come back during Pesach. If he's going to come back during Pesach, even if he leaves on Rosh Hashanah, meaning even if he leaves half a year before Pesach, he's going to have to check chametz right then and there, because if he's going to come back during Pesach, it's going to be a stumbling block. He's going to come and find chametz. So the Gemara says, Rabbi goes according to his own reasoning. Rabbi just said now that if you leave even Rosh Hashanah, you're going to have to check your house. Goes according to his reason. What did Rabbi say? Rabbi said like this: someone who makes his house, or someone who makes his storage space. He's setting up his storage house, and he has chametz on the underground in his house. Meaning he's storing chametz underground. So if it's 30 days before Pesach, he doesn't have to get rid of the chametz underground. Meaning he doesn't have to take out the chametz which is stored underground. If it's within 30 days of Pesach, he has to get rid of the chametz even if the chametz is underground. After he gets rid of the chametz on the ground, he can make his storage house. Why? Because since the chiyuv of dikas chametz already fell on him, it's within 30 days. So now he has to get rid of the chametz. Says the Gemara, and it's the same reason. Rabbi said before 30 days, you don't have to get rid of the chametz right in and there if you're not going to get rid of the chametz. If you're going to come on Pesach and you're going to find the chametz, I feel even if you're cleaning your storage house more than 30 days before Pesach, zakuk lavari has to get rid of the chametz right in and there. So basically, we see from Rabbi before 30 days and after 30 days, there's no such big nafkamina. The nafkamina is there's no such big nafkamina. Always, even from Rosh Hashanah on, if you're going to find the chametz on Pesach, you have to get rid of the chametz on whenever that is, even if it's a half year before Pesach. The only difference is that if it's within 30 days of Pesach, so then you already have the chiyuv to get rid of the chametz, and therefore you have a chiyuv even if during Pesach you're not going to find the chametz. Since you have a chiyuv to find chametz, you have to get rid of it then. Okay, we're going to stop over here because the next piece is a new piece. The Gemara is going to ask in the next piece, what is the significance of 30 days? Why after 30 days does the person has to start getting rid of the chametz? We're going to stop over here at the bottom of that Vav Amid Aleph. Have a good night.